The scent of charcoal and grilled burgers filled the warm afternoon air at my brother Jake's house. I clutched the ceramic dish in my hands, a key lime pie I'd spent the morning making from scratch. It was his favorite, a peace offering. Things had been strained between us for months, and I was hoping this family cookout could be a fresh start. I pushed open the gate to the backyard, a hopeful smile on my face. That's when I heard his voice, loud and clear over the chatter of his friends. My sister? Oh, she's basically useless to the family. The laughter from his buddies was a physical blow. Seriously, she's just floating around, living off scraps. My feet felt rooted to the grass. Before I could quietly retreat, my phone rang, the shrill sound cutting through the noise. Everyone turned to look at me. The caller ID was unmistakable on the bright screen, branch manager, Wellsbury Bank. A stunned silence fell over the group. With a shaky hand, I answered. Hello? A professional voice replied, Ms. Evans? We need to finalize your authorization on the transfer. Is this a good time to speak privately? Jake broke the tense silence with a loud, mocking laugh. Uh-oh, debt collectors calling already? His friends chuckled nervously, but their eyes were fixed on me. They could hear the tinny, formal voice from my phone. The bank manager's tone wasn't demanding, it was deeply respectful, almost deferential. We've held the documents as you requested, ma'am, but the account cannot move forward without your signature. Your presence is required at your earliest convenience. People were whispering now, confused. This didn't sound like a call to someone in financial trouble. Jake's smirk faltered slightly. He took a step forward, his voice laced with suspicion and a hint of possessiveness. What account is this about? What's going on? In that moment, a cold realization washed over me. He thought this call was about his money, his affairs. He assumed any important financial business must involve him, not me. I mumbled a quick "I'll call you back" into the phone and fled to the quiet of the driveway, my heart hammering. The humiliation burned, but deeper than that was a profound hurt. This was the little brother I'd practically raised after our mom got sick, the one I'd helped with homework and driven to football practice. A gentle hand touched my shoulder. It was Mrs. Halpern, an old family friend from down the street. Her face was full of pity. Honey, she said softly, I'm so sorry you had to hear that. Jake, he's been telling people for a while now that you've been struggling. He said you've been asking him for money. The pieces clicked into place with a sickening finality. His recent coldness, the strange looks from family friends. It wasn't just casual cruelty at a cookout. He had been systematically lying about me, building a narrative where I was a burden. The following Monday, I walked into the Wellsbury Bank, my stomach in knots. Two managers greeted me and led me to a quiet office. The formality was overwhelming. They explained that our late father's old timber property, a vast tract of land left jointly to me and Jake, had received a very generous purchase offer. My signature, they stressed, was the primary one required for the sale to proceed. I was listed in the will as the managing heir. Then came the twist. We became concerned, the senior manager said, when we received an email from you approving the sale, yet you failed to respond to our subsequent confirmation requests. He slid a printed email across the table. It had my name on it, but I had never sent it. Jake had tried to push the sale through without my knowledge, and he had forged my approval. The bank managers assured me they had halted the process the moment they spotted inconsistencies in the communication. They were protecting the account from potential fraud. I felt a strange calm settle over me. I didn't scream or accuse Jake right then. I needed to understand why. I asked who the buyer was. The name of the development company was unfamiliar, but the name of its principal was not. It was Mark, one of Jake's closest friends from the cookout. The friend who had laughed the loudest. The puzzle was becoming terrifyingly clear. I thanked the managers and left, my mind racing. I wouldn't confront Jake yet. I needed to gather all the facts first, to build an unshakable wall of truth. A few days later, our mom invited us both for a quiet dinner at her house. Jake was already there, acting smug and talking loudly about his big business deals about to close. I stayed quiet, observing. Our mom, while serving dessert, smiled at me. It's so good that Jake is going to take care of you once this land sale is finished. He told me he's going to make sure you're comfortable. The air left my lungs. He hadn't just tried to steal the sale, he had already positioned himself as the generous benefactor, the family savior. I looked directly at Jake, my voice steady and quiet. When did you plan to tell me about the property sale, Jake? Or were you just going to forge my signature and hope I never found out? Jake's fork clattered onto his plate. His face went through a rapid series of emotions, shock, panic, and then defensive anger. What are you talking about? I was handling it. You wouldn't understand all the complicated paperwork anyway. Our mom looked back and forth between us, confused. What's this about a forgery? She asked. I kept my eyes locked on Jake. The bank received an email from me approving the sale. Funny, since I didn't know it was for sale. He sputtered, well, you must have sent it and forgotten. Then he slipped. It was just a simple reply all to their initial offer. I felt a chill. The initial offer details were never in that fake email. He had just confirmed he'd seen the real correspondence. I'll need to look at all the documents, I said calmly. Jake's face drained of all color. I returned to the bank the next day. The manager provided me with copies of all the communication, including the forged email. They couldn't legally accuse Jake, but they gave me a detailed timeline. The fake email had been sent from an IP address registered to our neighborhood. I thought back. About a year ago, my old laptop had gone missing during one of Jake's visits. I'd written it off as me misplacing it and bought a new one. The forgery hadn't been a rushed, desperate act. He had stolen my laptop, likely knowing it still had my email logged in, and had been planning this deception for a long, long time. The betrayal cut deeper than I could have imagined. Seeking clarity, I made an appointment with Mr. Abrams, my father's old financial advisor. He was a kind, elderly man who remembered me well. He nodded sadly as I told him what was happening. Your father, Mr. Abrams said, was a very wise man. He named you the managing heir because he saw your strength and integrity. Jake always resented that. He then opened a drawer and pulled out a sealed, yellowing envelope. Your father left this with me. He wrote it for you, to be given to you if something like this ever happened. I'm sorry it's under these circumstances. He handed me the letter. My father's familiar handwriting on the front made my eyes well with tears. That night, alone at my kitchen table, I opened the letter. My father's words were a balm and a heartbreak. My dearest girl, it began. Asterisk if you're reading this, I'm gone, and you're probably having to be the strong one again. I'm sorry I leaned on you so much when your mother was sick. You were just a kid yourself, but you held us all together. Asterisk he wrote that he knew Jake chased shortcuts and was easily influenced by flashy success. Asterisk the land is yours to keep or sell, but only if it truly benefits your future, not just Jake's ambitions. Be smart. Be strong. I trust you. Asterisk the letter wasn't about money, it was about belief. He had seen me. He had trusted me. And now, I had to honor that trust. I took everything, the bank documents, the forged email, my father's letter, to a lawyer named Ms. Carter. I told her I didn't want to sue my brother, I just wanted to protect myself and my inheritance. She reviewed the paperwork, impressed by the evidence. Legally, she said, you have complete and sole control here. You can halt the sale indefinitely. Jake has no legal standing to force this. She leaned forward, her gaze sharp. The question is, what do you want the outcome to be? Do you just want to block Jake, or do you want to teach him a lesson he'll never forget? I sat back, considering her words. Revenge felt cheap. But accountability? That felt necessary. I enacted a plan of controlled silence. I said nothing to Jake. I didn't answer his calls. I ignored his texts, which grew from annoyed "we need to talk about this" to frantic "you're ruining everything." A week into my silence, Mark, Jake's friend and the would-be buyer, showed up at my workplace. He put on a friendly face. "Look," he said, "I just want to smooth things over. This deal is really important for your brother. He's in a tight spot." His eyes were hard, his smile fake. He was there to pressure me. As he spoke, I discreetly opened a voice memo app on my phone. My state was a one-party consent state, and I was now a party to this conversation. I immediately shared the recording with both my lawyer and the bank. In the recording, Mark heavily implied he and Jake had a private agreement that bypassed standard procedures. The bank, alarmed by this ethical breach, launched an internal review of Mark's company and its practices. The pressure shifted. A day later, I received a panicked email from Mark. It was meant for his lawyer, but he had accidentally CC'd me. The subject line was "damage control." The body read, "This is falling apart." Jake assured me his sister was clueless and he could handle her. His forgery idea has blown up in our faces. We need to distance ourselves from him immediately. Jake's own accomplice had thrown him directly under the bus. That evening, Jake pounded on my front door. I opened it to find him red-faced and trembling with rage. "What did you do?" he screamed. "You ruined me. Mark just dropped the deal. He said you have evidence." I stood calmly in the doorway, saying nothing. His anger crumbled into desperate pleading. It wasn't an apology. It was a confession. "You have to fix this. I need that money. I already borrowed against my share of the payout. I have debts. You don't understand." The full picture of his recklessness was now clear. He had spent money he never had. I looked at him, my brother, now a desperate stranger. "I haven't decided what I'm going to do yet," I said quietly. His face contorted in disbelief before he turned and stormed off into the night. The social tide began to turn. Mrs. Halpern called me, her voice full of newfound respect. She told me more rumors Jake had spread, about me losing jobs and having a gambling problem, all lies to justify his generosity. Then, a surprise visit from Chloe, Jake's girlfriend. She looked nervous. "I can't stay with him after this," she whispered. "He bragged to me about it, about how he was going to trick the system and use you as a silent partner. He said you were too naive to ever figure it out." She was disgusted. I looked at her, a newfound hope flickering. "Do you have any proof of him saying that?" I asked. She nodded slowly. "I think I do." Later that night, my phone chimed with a message from Chloe. It was a series of screenshots from her text conversations with Jake. In them, he was blatant. "My dad was an idiot for putting her in charge," one read. Another said, "Don't worry, I know how to fake an approval. She'll never know what hit her." The evidence was now undeniable and damning. I had the forged email from the bank, the recorded conversation with Mark, his panicked email, and now these texts. I had the complete timeline of his deception. I forwarded everything to my lawyer. She called me immediately. "With this," she said gravely, "Jake could face serious consequences, with or without you pressing charges. The fraud is undeniable." Jake, backed into a corner, demanded a family meeting through our mother. I agreed. I felt a powerful calmness. I was no longer the hurt sister, I was the managing heir, in full control. The night before the meeting, my phone rang. It was the bank manager. "Ms. Evans, we've completed our internal review. We're ready for you to come in tomorrow to formally and permanently block the sale, as you wish." I thanked him, relieved. But he wasn't finished. "There's one more thing," he added, his tone shifting. "We'll also need to discuss your father's secondary account. The one only you are listed on." The next morning, I went to the bank. The managers explained that my father, a cautious and thoughtful man, had set up a separate savings account years ago. It was meant as an emergency fund, a nest egg completely distinct from the land. The will was very specific. I was the sole beneficiary. Jake's name was not on it. He didn't know it existed. The amount in it was modest but life-changing, enough for a down payment on a house or to start a small business. The manager looked at me. The account has been dormant. With your authorization, we can activate it and transfer the funds to an account of your choosing. What would you like to do? We all gathered in my mother's living room that evening, me, my mom, and a visibly tense Jake. He tried to start with bluster, but I cut him off. My voice was quiet but clear as I laid out the facts. I explained that I controlled the land, that the sale was permanently blocked, and that I knew about the forged email and his plan with Mark. I didn't yell. I didn't punish him. I simply stated that I was keeping the property, as was my right. Jake's arrogant facade shattered completely. He didn't get angry, he collapsed into the sofa, his head in his hands. You don't understand, he sobbed. I needed that money. I'm in so deep. The debts. I'll lose my car. Everything. Our mother looked at him, her face a mask of sorrow and dawning understanding. Sweetheart, she said softly to him, is there something else we should know? At that exact moment, my phone rang, piercing the tense silence. The caller ID lit up the room, branch manager, Wellsbury Bank. A perfect, painful echo of the cookout. Jake's head snapped up, his eyes wide with a new kind of fear. I answered, putting it on speakerphone. Ms. Evans, the manager's professional voice filled the room. I'm just calling to confirm the successful transfer from your father's secondary account into your new investment portfolio. Congratulations. Everything is in order for you, as the primary beneficiary. Please call us to discuss your future investment options when you're ready. The words primary beneficiary hung in the air, clear and undeniable. The truth exploded in the room. Jake's entire web of lies, that I was useless, a burden, financially irresponsible, unraveled in an instant. He stammered, trying to explain the secondary account, but he couldn't. He had known nothing about it. The narrative he had built so carefully was exposed as a complete fraud. His friends, who had been lingering in the hallway, exchanged shocked glances. Then Chloe, who had come for moral support, stepped forward. I'm done, Jake, she said, her voice strong. You used her. You lied about her. I can't be with someone like that. Humiliated and defeated in every possible way, Jake let out a strangled sound, shoved past his friends, and stormed out of the house, leaving a stunned silence in his wake. Later that night, as I sat in my quiet apartment, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Jake. It wasn't angry or manipulative. It was shaky and raw. Asterisk, I'm so sorry. I was jealous. I've always been jealous. You were always stronger and smarter, and Dad knew it. I wanted to be the important one for once. What I did was disgusting. Asterisk, for the first time, it felt like a genuine apology, born of shame, not a desire to get something. I wrote back a simple, asterisk, I accept your apology. Asterisk, I felt a weight lift, but my boundaries remained firm. A moment later, another text came through. Asterisk, will you ever be able to trust me again? Asterisk, I didn't reply. Some questions don't have answers yet. In the following weeks, I took firm control of my life and my inheritance. I met with a land management agency to properly assess the timber property. It wasn't just about blocking a sale, it was about stewardship. I learned that with careful, sustainable harvesting and by applying for environmental grants, the land could provide a modest but steady long-term income. It was the opposite of Jake's get-rich-quick scheme. It was about building something that lasted. My lawyer called with surprising news. I took the liberty of sending your sustainable management plan to a state conservation group I work with. They're very impressed and have expressed interest in a potential partnership. About a month later, Jake asked to meet for coffee. I agreed, cautiously. He looked different, tired, humbled. He was working extra shifts as a mechanic to pay down his debts. He didn't ask for money. He just talked, about his mistakes, about his shame. For the first time, he was facing the consequences of his actions, and he was learning from them. I listened. I offered him advice on budgeting and finding a financial counselor. I did not offer him a bailout. He nodded, accepting it. He was finally understanding that real success wasn't a single payout, it was built day by day, with integrity. I left the coffee shop feeling a sense of resolution I never thought possible. I stood at the edge of the timber property, the scent of pine and damp earth filling the air. This land was my father's legacy, not of wealth, but of trust. My life was now secure and self-built. The poetic justice was perfect. The very trait Jake had mocked, my so-called uselessness, which was really my quiet perseverance, had become the foundation of my strength and independence. I didn't need revenge. My integrity, my patience, and my father's faith in me had been the ultimate victory. As I watched the sun set through the trees, my phone rang. It was the director of the State Conservation Group. "We're ready to move forward," she said. "And we'd like to formally offer you the project lead role." I had won, entirely on my own terms.